for the modern applications development. I hope all the audience is from the development background and operations and knows what are the software applications and what are the techniques and technologies are used. I hope the audience is also know about all the applications, uh, at least at terms we are going to be used in this presentations. They are well aware of these. If you people have missed my last lectures, you can get it from your website and take a look on these so that you can grab uh, all the DevOps expertise and can get into that DevOps field. So let's start now how we can containerize and what is the containerization. That is not a hub, that is not that is not a you can say a Docker or any ship yard where ship arrives and big heavy machines remove the containers from that ship and then forwarded it to the port and then forwarded it to the specific addresses that where that containers has been transformed or served. But in the application forms, it works like the containers. So we have the so that's why it has been named as the containerization. What is the containerization? If we talk about the containerization is a software development process that bundles all the application code with all the files and libraries it needs to run on any infrastructure. Traditionally, to run an application on your computer, you had to install all the versions on that, match your machine operating system, you have to match all the libraries, you have to install all the necessary softwares to run your application. But when your application is transformed or forwarded to the web server or deployment server, that doesn't have the same environment available over there. So what happens? The application crashes and application does not behave as that has been being manufactured for, that has been developed for. So the application, this delivery has been modernized using the containerization. If we talk about the definition of the containerization, containerizations are the lightweight. We will talk about a few things. After that, I will show you a demo how to containerize the application. I will create from the scratch an application and then containerize it. So if we talk about the containerization features, the containerization is these are the lightweight and virtualized technologies allowed to package the application and its dependency into a standalone executable container. Instead, we have all the features, all the VMs, or all the operating system installed in a machine, and then all the dependencies installed in a machine, and after that we forwarded it to the development environment and run the application over there. Instead of these we have a lightweight container that just contains the executable files and will forward it to the development environment, deployment environment. If we talk about the containerization technology, that has been revitalized and revolutionized in the way that application can develop and deployed. And what is being coded on the developer machine that is being handed over to the deployment team. So the gap between the developer and the development and the deployment team has been closed, has been minimized by the DevOps, by this. And the major tool is the containerization of the application. And what are the other benefit of containerization? Containerization share the host system kernel and use fewer resources. These, let me know you, these use a few resources. That is very key point. Of the traditional in the VM, we know in an environment, if there is a server, inside that server there are many VMs, so they have all the resources inside the VM, and then the VM serve any application, or for VM serves for any DB database. But in the containerization, these use the minimum resources of the base machine. And containers are essentially, these are the lightweight standalone executable package that contains all the necessary components to run the application, including code, dependencies, system libraries, users libraries, or even other things that has being configured manually by the deployment team. After deployment, even the developer sets with the deployment team and thinks and work around near about and use many man-hours to deploy an application. But that application is also running very finely on the developer machine, but not on the on the deployment. What was the background of the containerization? If we talk about the background, your code works fine. Your local machine, you have a remote server and your data center that can run your application. You copy your local code binaries on the remote server and try to run the code, and you see your code doesn't work there. And the reaction, what was the reaction? You know, it's work fine on my machine. I don't know. That is the headache of the deployment team. And deployment team doesn't know what is inside the code. So if there is the change in the code is required by the operating system of the deployment server, then there is, we can say, a headache for the developer and the deployment team also. If we talk about the previous versions, these were the virtualizations, and the VirtualBox, VMwares, Microsoft hypervisors, and Amazon workspaces, and many other Google clouds. These provides the VMs and our application, a process that allow a computer to share its hardware resources with multiple digitally shared environment. I have already told you people that on the virtualization environment, we use different, every virtual machine has its own operating system. They are difficult to manage because there are security patches we have to install on all the machines. If one machine or one virtual machine forget or not being implemented, or the configuration is not according to the security, then what happens. Everybody knows what happens last week, and that can be a major loss uh, to the organization and even to the business processes also. Virtualization lets the server emulate a different operating system like Windows, Android, and Linux. Each virtualization environments run with its own allocated resources, such as memory, processing power, storage, network interfaces card, and etc. Many things. But virtualization is being replaced with the containerization. And what the containers are, there is a server with a host OS, bottom to top, you can see there is a server. After that, there is a host OS and the Docker engine. And that is the main thing. The Docker runtime or Docker engine. That the Docker engine runs the containers, and in there are multiple containers on the Docker engine. We can run multiple containers on the Docker image. I will show you and just after the presentation that how multiple containers are being running on a single Docker container on a single Docker engine, and multiple applications are being deployed and because without any hassle or any other headache. So on the server there is a host OS that is very easy to manage. That a host OS, instead we have to manage all the operating systems inside the VMs. Instead there is a server and has its own host OS that is easy to manage. And if we talk about the containers, on the Docker engine, there is the binary and libraries, and application is binded on these binaries. The beautiful thing of the container is this, that a Docker and Kubernetes are the key technologies of the container. If somebody says, I want to containerize my application, and he doesn't know how the Docker and the Kubernetes works, he can't do anything. But today we will learn, and I will enable you how to create the Docker file and how to containerize your application and forwarded it to the Kubernetes. Presently in my demo, we will not proceed towards the Kubernetes. And the next presentation, I will set up a Kubernetes cluster for you, and we will forward it our applications to the Kubernetes and how the Kubernetes works and how these things works. We will look into the deployment part also. But today we will focus on the development part, that how the Docker container is being created, how a big application is being containerized on a small package and forwarded and running properly. How it is possible, I will show you. And the Docker is a suite of software development tools for creating, sharing, and running individual containers. Mind you, Docker is a software, and same the Kubernetes is also an operating containerized application at scaling, horizontal and vertical, verifying its integrity. And Kubernetes also have high availability and many other features. Orchestration tool we will discuss in the next presentation, inshallah. If we talk about the think of containerization as a standard packing of the microservices with all the needs, the application code and dependencies inside. Let me tell you one thing, that microservices. If we are using the Facebook, sometimes we see that the friend request page is not working, but all the Facebook applications are working. Sometimes we see that the messaging server is not working, but all other features of the Facebook is working. Sometimes we see that the store, or we can see marketplace is not working, but all the features are working properly. These are the microservices designed and developed by the Facebook and deployed on the Kubernetes clusters separately. So whenever the application, inside the application, that requests to that specific container for getting the information of the Play Store, or getting the information of that specific items, these are not container. If the container is not healthy or not working, or services are down, and not the whole services of the Facebook are down, only the one application, only one tab is not working, but the other tabs are working fine. That is also that is beauty of the Kubernetes. I will explain in the next presentation. If we talk about the Docker is the containerization, and the focus point is Docker, and it is the containerization platform, and Kubernetes is the running platform for the containerization, for running and managing containers from any container on the runtime. On the developer machine, we just containerize our application for the testing purpose. What are the benefits? Isolation, main thing is the isolation. I have already explained. If we are using the microservices, and if we are on a VM, or if we are on a bare metal server machine, and we have different maintains the different containers for different services, and the isolation is there. So if one container is not working, only that specific app or specific tab of the application will not working, but all the full application will be working. And the second benefit of the containerization is the portability. If we talk about the portability, containers are self-contained, include all the necessary dependencies, making it easy to move between development, testing, and production environment. There is blue and green deployment made by the DevOps teams for the testing purpose, for the staging purpose, for the deployment, and even for the information security testing or vulnerability assessment. So many deployments are being performed by the DevOps teams, or by the by the deployment team, but that made very easy using the containerization. And if we talk about the scalability, that is the feature of the Kubernetes. But if we have the application on the containerization, then we just getting the replica of your container, we can scale it or scale down, or even we can automate it from that Kubernetes, that if the load of the RAM or CPU or the user are being increased on our application, it will automatically create a container and forwarded the balancing the load, and forwarded the load to the second container. So that is a type of load balancing. That is the feature of the Kubernetes. And scalability can be done if application is on the container. And the next, on the consistency, the containers ensures consistency across the different environments, making it easy to manage and maintain application on whatever the environment is there, that is the Linux or Windows or app, or any Android application. If that is being run on via container, we can that is consistency is ensured by the container, and even that orchestration tool that is being used for running that container. So the containerization of the application, how? First of all, you can see on my left side, that is from dev, we build, ship, run any application from anywhere. But on the left, you can see from dev to the ops, there is a code on that developer machine or on the developer's hand, and he want to put it on the operations. And whatever the code is, that is Azure, that is ASP.NET, that is Core, that is Java, even Node.js, or anything, PHP, or whatever, any type of application, the containerization engine runs it on any operating system, that can be Windows or the Linux, and it can be deployed on any machine that can be on our environment. You can say on-prem cloud, or our on-prem hardware, bare metal machines that is located on our office or our own data center, or the virtual machines, and even on the cloud, that can be shipped. Container types. This is the most very important slide. You can see container types. There are two types of containers. I have an application and I want to container it. I can container it using the Linux base container or using the Windows base container. If there are two types of containers, Linux and Windows, I can put my application into the Linux container and I can also put my application into the Windows container. I personally didn't recommend Windows container because Windows containers are larger than the Linux image size. These have the more dependencies and more file size, so to run the application. So if we talk about the Linux, it has a small image, a very small base image. I am talking about this base image, very small base image, and after that, if the application is reside on that image, and then the container is being packed and shipped towards the deployment. So not all the versions are supported by Windows. That is also a drawback by the Windows. So whenever we are going to decide as a developer that what we have to choose the base container, we should select Linux platform. And if and we talk about this slide shows to the container deployment, how the container is being deployed. There is end user on the left. The end user application is being forwarded to the OpenShift, that is on the bottom. OpenShift, in the OpenShift, a Kubernetes cluster is running. On the Kubernetes cluster, the Docker is running. That the container management softwares and these application, and then these forwarded to the application environment where the container is being running, and these running containers these running containers uh, provide provide you all the services and via Docker and application layer, and then this is shipped back to the end user, and that is you and me. How to containerize an application? That is the basic question. How to containerize we will do right now, but I will do in front of you containerization of the application, a .NET application, ASP.NET. We will create an ASP.NET application, a core application, or a Blazor application. Even if I found someone the PHP application, I will also show you how to containerize it, and the Java and the other, if we got the time, because we have the very limited time. So let's proceed further. Prerequisites for the containerization. If we talk about the prerequisites for the containerization, we should have an integrated development environment being installed on the developer machine already. These are being installed by the developers. These are the Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio itself, and PyCharm, and Eclipse also. So these all the integrated development environment IDEs are being installed. Maybe use any other, you can may use any other ID, but the most necessary thing is the Docker desktop that is required to be installed on the developer machine. Presently, I have installed all the application on my this machine for your demo. but the prerequisites are Visual Studio and the Docker desktop. Visual Studio used for coding and Docker desktop for the running of the containers, for verification of the container. So what is the workflow? First of all, we will write a Docker file inside our code, and these Docker file will build a Docker image, and we will run it and forward it to the Docker container. You know, whenever we write a code, we click on the build button so that the code is being compiled, and if that is the web application, then this code is being forwarded to a local web server. Runtime local web server is being run by this IDE, whatever the IDE we are using, and then this show our page. So let's start the demo, and after that I will take your questions also. First of all, I will open my Visual Studio. I have already told you that I have installed the Docker container, that is the Docker desktop. The Docker desktop is being used, the Docker desktop is being used for only for the desktop version. If you are using any server version, you cannot install Docker desktop over there. So you have to use other type of you can say other type of Docker runtime environment. And this is now starting the Docker engine, and let's let it to start, and let's we start with the Visual Studio. This is the Visual Studio 2022. Let's create a new project, and what we can say, let me a Blazor web app. Let's start with a Blazor web app. Default, let us go to the default play solution. Next, .NET 8.0 and the configuration with the HTTPS. That I have not changed any type of environment or anything, and I have just created a default Blazor application provided by the Microsoft. That is being provided by the Microsoft. And if we talk about here, you can see over here that the connected services, web root, these all the files are being generated or created by the templates by the ASP.NET Blazor app, and that is the on the if we want to run this application, we just click over here and see that that is building the Blazor application. And you know, here what happens, that that an application is being run, and browser will open and see this is the default application created by the Microsoft with the word hello world, and welcome to the new app. If we talk about the counter, that is call me. If I click on the click me, that is the counter. And if we click on the weather, that take that hits some API and gets the data from any DB. This is being run by the local host over inside our browser, that is being created by the this Visual Studio. and if I shut it down, that is stopped, and let me stop it also, this instance. Now this is the application that is being provided by the developer to me, and the developer wants me to deploy it to the developer want me to containerize this application. What I will do, the first step, note it, I will right click on the Blazor app and add, click on add and click on Docker support. Here is the option is Docker support. Docker support. Here, the target OS, Linux or Windows. As my presentation, I have told you people that we have to use the Linux, because the Linux containers are lightweight. This is going to be choose the base container. I will show you that, show you the path where from where that took the base container and resides its application over the base container and forwarded it to the Docker. So the target OS, Linux, and the container build type, that is the Docker file. I want to create a Docker file over here. So I have, so that I can show you. See, the Docker file has been created here. And along with this, it has started building the dependencies in the Docker file. And it has write down all the configurations and whatever the requirements by the running the container to this application is being included in the Docker file. You know, from the base image, that is the MRC base image.NET 8.0, that is the base image being downloaded by one time, downloaded by the Docker, and after that it will forwarded it to the uh, forwarded it to the runtime, is also downloaded for the build purpose, and after building it, a release will be performed, a release will be created, and finally published the application and published folder and forwarded to the entry point with the Blazor. So this has been created automatically. I have not coded at all. I have not write a single ABC over here, and that is very easy. So and that is very very useful if you people are you people want to get into this environment. Let's and let me show you now. There is, if we talk about, there is an option container Docker file. Now if I want to run it, it says you want to run it using container Docker file, or you want to run it on HTTP, HTTPS, or web browser. I say no, please run on container Docker file. Now see this, start building, Blazor configuration, debug any CPU. Now it's starting to connect with the container tool. See the container tool plain file, waiting for this to complete. The container warm up is in progress. So the container is warming up, and we have to wait a few seconds, or that may be more than this. See what the container is doing. Container is downloading, uh, container is downloading the Microsoft ASP.NET 8.0, and whenever the base image is being downloaded, after that this application will continue, will comprises the container, and then uh, and the container will be showed over here like this. If if we talk about right now, there is no container available. If we talk about the images, these are the base images, are available ASP.NET 8.0. These are being 29 days ago, and the Blazor app dev environment that is being app 1 is being one time 25 days ago has been implemented here. But right now the container is warming up. That will take time. And for this, let me have a question section. If anybody have a question, please, until this completion, we have the question session, please.
As he said, if any of you have a question, you can use the hand reaction or leave a comment in the chat. So, for example, I have a question here from Charles New. He said, which is the best Windows?
Which is the base windows? Base windows, right now in front of you, you can see the base windows mean and bare metal machine. You have a computer, and in the computer you install a Windows operating system, and in that Windows operating system you want to containerize some application, and that application is the base image. Right now you can see the base image is being downloaded by Microsoft mrc.com.net ASP 8.0. This is the base image that is used as a base. You can see in our container Docker file. This contains all the dependencies and come along with all the dependencies. Okay.
Let's wait for more questions. Okay, we have a question from Asfo Hale. They ask, is any difference between the containerized software and installed ones in function and security?
You know, the surface area, you know, and if we know about we have a server machine, then we install the operating system in that server, and we have to patch all the security vulnerabilities of that server. And inside that server we use, if we use virtual machines. 10 virtual machines are being created in that server. Then we have to separately install all the patches to these 10 machines. But in the containerization environment, we have not to do anything, because container does not have the kernel, container does not have the operating system, container does not have anything. It just have the runtime environment that is required for that application to run. All the other things are not there. So let me continue. You can see here, after downloading all the contain base images and runtime images, the application is ready to serve now. You can see that is providing our the message that, and now this application is listening at 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 port 32769, and the counter is working as usual. And see, and let me tell you, the containers work flawlessly and fastly as compared to the virtualization environment. where the other processes of operating systems are being running, but in the container, and there are just the minimum requirement to run the application that is included. So uh, in front of you, this application is being running by the container, and if we get into this, that says Blazor app is being tagged with that dev, and it is in use. Who is using this image? This image is being used by this container that is being run by, where it goes, that is being run by, this. Let me restart this. The container was not showing over there. Oh yes, in here I have not selected this. So you can see this is the Blazor app container that is being created by this app, by this, and running properly over here. Let me recheck it. And if we get into the container, you can see this is the log by the container that the content path route is this. The application is listening on 80 and 8001 on HTTP and HTTPS. And if we inspect the container, it shows all the configurations. It shows all the configurations of uh, of the container. And if we talk about the bit bounds, if we want to get into the container, you just give the command, or right here I just that is the interface. So I am inside the container. I just write ls, and you can see it provides me nothing but all the runtime environment for the container. It has nothing but all the application and a few other things like bin and www root folder and obj. That is the part of the application. These are the part of the application, and a web root is the part of the container. Just the minimum resources that is being created and run by this. And if we talk about the files, what are the files? These are the files are inside the container. And if we talk about the size, you can see 7 byte, and very less than size, less than the and these are the also the stats of the container. So and this you have seen right now this, and this is the Blazor application container. We have created an application from scratch and run it in the container. And let me not finish here. Let me give me 4 to 5 minutes so that I can create an other application for you people and run it like this thing. I'm going to close this solution and create a new project. And if we got some any application, what let me have a core web API. That is the web application. And same right here, you can see it's asking over here, enable the containerization support. I say okay, you enable it, and then ask me the container build type is the Docker file or SDK. Same question, but right now over here it asking here if we are using .NET application 4.8 or less than the 4.8, that the Linux or container or operating system is not supported by the application. We have to, and we have only option the Windows container, and Windows container has more Windows container has more and more files, and even that can have the size of 1.7 GB container size base image. But on the Linux, if we talk about on the other end, on the Linux version, that contains the size near about 700 MBs. So the difference is this: there is 2 GB and there is 700. Right now, this is the core application I have run over here, and that let me see over here, the web application that is in use. And if we talk about the container, the web application one that is being run by the container. And if we inspect these all the things, I have right now I have created in front of you a core application and containerize it just in less than 1 minute. So this container is being shipped to the Kubernetes, and Kubernetes handle it and forwarded it for the orchestration, and the services is being provided over whatever the port we have decided, whatever the port we are using. Over here, if I use Swagger, and that will go get into that. So and this is the second application I have containerized in front of you. That was the core. First was the Blazor. Same we can containerize. If we talk about the get into the solution explorer and see what was the Docker file that is being created on the starting of the project. That is very much similar to the previous one that is used Microsoft.NET as a base, same image using as a base, and same image using as a same image using as the build. So that's why that was working very fastly, because because the container contain one time if it is warm up, it contains its images over here, and it uses again and again. These image or data go to the Microsoft to get these images. And these images, base images, are available on the internet, on the Docker Hub freely. Even you didn't need to create any account over there. So that's if we stop it over here, and if I talk about I am going to close it, the closest solution. If we talk about any PHP application, I can show you any PHP application that can be uh, used for the containerization, but right now not in front of me. So two applications I have containerized in front of you using no any type of coding. We are just using the Docker container, Docker file. Whatever we write over here, that gets into the container. What the instructions we write over here, that gets into the containerization. So these are on the Microsoft platform. These are very much likely available after just adding right now Docker support, and the clicking on the Docker support, using some any other type of ID, PHP, or like Visual Studio, you have to create into the we have the files and the Docker image, and container is being created by using this Docker file. Okay, any question, please?
Thank you. Good. And so we have from Emmanuel Owure. He asked, are you saying containerization focuses only on the software process and not on the physical carriage and safety?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Okay, he says, are you saying containerization focuses only on the software process and not on the physical carriage and safety?
No. This is not for the physical carriage or the safety. This is only for the runtime development to the deployment. That is not any physical carriage like. thing that is just for application, and that containerized and forwarded to the deployment server.
Thank you. Then another question from Sahir Ahmed. He asks, please tell about the benefit of scaling in the containerized application.
Benefits of the scaling or containerization application are very much. I have already told you that if I have 100 users pointing towards or using my application, and more than 100, and my CPU of my container is full, then and the scaling automatically detect that CPU reaches 100% or CPU reaches 90%, and it scale out automatically